let's start off with Intel. I mean, as I need hardly say, Intel is such an anchor tenant, if you like, for Island Inc. I mean, it's something that the IDA Island has sold Island on in terms of when it goes out to other companies and says, come invest in Island. Here's Intel. Why would they be here unless it wasn't for the fantastic workforce and so on? And here we are, 2 years ago, probably even less, a year and a half ago, Intel was being written off. It was like, well, is it going to be a big carve out and it's just going to be written off? They had missed the boat in terms of AI chips. NVIDIA had taken, all of the thunder from there. They had missed out in other areas as well. It really looked like a spent force, but there's been a big turnaround. As you say, there's been the Trump administration has taken an equity stake in it. That's been backed up as well. NVIDIA took a stake, SoftBank as well. They've all rolled in. Under Lip Bhutan, there's been a huge, change of strategy, sort of attempt to turn the boat around, if you like. And it seems to be working with all of these things. And I suppose, I guess you could look as the new investment as, the icing on the cake, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say as well, the investment, they want to expand production output, advance the R&D over there. But it's an absolute massive number for Irish operations, as you say, and hopefully we'll get to see if it'll boost production then going outside as well. So we'll have a look and see how it happens. You spoke to the Foundry business. Did you say anything else to the general manager of the Foundry business when you were speaking today at the station? Yeah,
we'll have some of his comments in a minute. That we go direct to in his own words, sort of thing. But he had some great things to say about doing business in Ireland, why it was investing here. Part of that is obviously they've invested before. They have a long track record. They've spent this current investment brings to over 30 billion. The amount they've invested in Ireland since they first came here in 1989. So, that's quite a solid investment over that time, cumulative investment. There's that, but there's also, so part of it is a building on that, but it's also, he said, again, the workforce is pivotal, but he also talked about Ireland's place in the supply chain. And pretty much just said, this Intel is committed to Ireland, and this is sort of a reaffirming of that, if you like.
Fantastic. And as you mentioned as well, Charlie, there's major shareholding movements this week. So Xavier Neil, who is the French billionaire and he's majority owner of Air over here, he announced that he will buy UAE Telecoms Group, Ian's entire stake in Vodafone for, I think, close to $6 billion. Yeah. So that's a massive movement, I suppose. They said the decision is kind of to exit Vodafone was down to the natural evolution of its priorities. So there's obviously kind of a difference there, and then they want to unlock cash from that exit as well. But Vodafone's shares had skyrocketed after the announcement. It's obviously absolutely massive for the company.
Absolutely. I mean, I think people, Xavier, is well known for, he doesn't do things by halves, as I wrote at the weekend. He's very much a guy that gets in there and goes big. It's go big or go home. So go big or go home, all the way with him. And this, people are kind of going, is this going to be another one of those situations? He's not a kind of guy that would just do a tiny investment and leave it there. So he's become the majority stakeholder overnight. There's suggestions about what he'll do next, and one is that he will be able to squeeze the assets in a way that Vodafone hasn't done itself. It's made a number of disposals over the years, but the CEO pretty much said about a year ago, that's it now. We're not going to sell anymore. The group remains as it is. I don't think he's the kind of guy that would have that same opinion. He's like to come in and look at it coldly and kind of go, Vodafone Ireland, is that critical to the success of the company? Yeah. Let's have a look. And more importantly, the thing that he'll be interested in looking at is Germany, which is accounts for a third of the company's revenues, but has been dragging down the value of the company because it's been performing really badly. In contrast to that, there's the company's African arm, which is soaring, and which analysts have suggested before is the reason why the and took their stake in the company in the first place that has now been acquired. So it's just really interesting to see what happens next in terms of what he'll do. As you say, Vodafone has got a huge bump for this. I think it is, the telco sector as a whole is very much about consolidation over the last few years. It's an industry that's not on its uppers generally because it's kind of, it's had its moment in the sun, if you like. So it's all sort of like, if you are spending in this area, how do you consolidate and how do you squeeze as much as you can out from the assets? So I think there will be much more from him. I think there'll be implications for Ireland if he carries on with this. And I think it's a real sort of watch this space. He is not just going to invest and step away. So really exciting to see what happens there.
Very interesting. And also, Charlie, I have the Surface Pro here.
You do? I'm kind of really jealous just even looking at it. This is a very sexy bit of kit.
It's a gorgeous machine, and it's the 13-inch Surface Pro, which is their 12th edition. So this is it here. Now, if I turn it on, I mean, the screen has my fingerprints all over it, unfortunately, but it's really something. I think, like, I have the MacBook Air. I think it is the M4 chip. Now, this has the latest Qualcomm Snapdragon X2 processors, which are fantastic, really fast. I think it depends on what you're looking for in a laptop. I didn't get sent the keyboard with this. I think you'd want a keyboard with a machine like this, but I think if you're on the go, maybe if you're a student or if I was more of a travelling journalist, this would be something that I'd like a lot.
Yeah.
This one, it retails for about $1,600, so it's about...
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but I think the MacBook, I think, is currently about $200 less than that. So I think it depends on what you're going for, but really gorgeous graphics, surprisingly good camera. There's not a lot of laptops that you have that have good camera. But I've been playing around with it for a few days, and it's something that I really like.
And what's it like to use when you're on the go? I mean, is it something? I mean, part of the reason why people love the MacBooks, not least because they're very lightweight, they're easy to carry around, and they're gorgeous as well. How does this compare to that?
I think this is better for travelling. To be honest, it weighs about under £2. It's more portable in that sense. It's very light. I think with the snap of a keyboard as well, I would throw that in my bag. I'd bring that out. This is the bigger version. This is, I think, the 13-inch. But it is now their latest. This is their flagship Surface Pro. The battery life as well, from how I've used it, very, very good. I haven't actually charged it yet since getting it, and it's now at 38%. And I've been playing with it for quite a bit.
Good. Yeah.
So for streaming, like the screen is absolutely fantastic. So I think it's a real rival here for those who maybe, I know it's always the Apple versus Microsoft, and a lot of people think like that, but I think this is a rival to it. I'm usually an Apple person, but I actually have a really good time with the Surface Pro. So we'll see.
Yeah, you're going to have a full review that we're going to have online later this week. But tell us, if you were an Apple fan, I mean, is it going to convert it?
I think it will now. I think the thing with a lot of people, and myself included, I love iOS and I'm used to that by now. But then you have those people who are used to Microsoft and their software, and they're not going to stray from that. But I think at the moment, if I had my pick, I would probably choose the versatility of this, having it as a tablet, having it as a laptop, the fact that it's lightweight, I can carry anywhere, makes it a lot more, I suppose, attractive compared to my bog standard. I have a 15-inch MacBook. It's a bit big. So I really liked it, but I would use the keyboard and the pen with it, which will rack up the price a little bit more.
And just briefly, it seems to be, from what I look at it, it seems to be a sort of, iPad and laptop combined.
Exactly.
Is that a good way of looking at it? So it's not just a laptop.
Exactly, you're right. And it's about 2-in-1, really. And that's one of the kind of selling points of it. Like, you're either paying $1,500 for a laptop, or you're paying $1,600 for a laptop when you want it, and a tablet when you want it. So it depends, but either way, the machine itself it's really strong. It's the graphics are incredible. Everything I've liked about it so far, and I was kind of trying to find flaws with it, but I think that it's the duality of that is what makes it very good for people. So I think people will be picking it up, maybe even some conversions from Apple, but we'll have to see.
Well, we'll have to see. All right. Well, we look forward to getting your final view on it in your review later this week, and we'll leave it for there on that. Now, I'm going to go back to Intel, obviously the story of the week, and as I said earlier in the program, I sat down in a media roundtable of Naga Chandrasekaran to talk about the investment, what it all means. And here's a few clips from the chat that we had with him. I suppose let's start off with, I asked him to explain where the $5 billion investment will be directed and when it will be completed.
We already invested in what we call as the Fab 34 building that was opened in 23. So maybe from outside, there won't be a big change that they are going to see, but it's all inside. With the AI demand that's going through right now, we are seeing a significant increase in the need for Intel 3 wafers. And that's where this investment is going to go. It's going to do 3 things. One, it is going to take all the space and start installing more leading edge tools that's going to serve Intel 3. So the investment is going towards the equipment investment. The second part of the investment is we have other factories that are here that we want to connect through a highway so that we can have all these factories connected as one single high velocity output production, so that the wafers can move between factories and be able to seamlessly go from one facility to another facility. So we are investing in that with advanced transfer systems and advanced transfer vehicles. And the third is our investment in workforce and upskilling the workforce to make sure they are all getting trained on these advanced technology platforms. With that, some construction work will also happen, some tool install work will happen. Externally, maybe less visible, but internally, a lot of work going to be done with this investment. So the investment already started in early 26, and we have started installing tools. And majority of this investment will go through 2027. There might be some that has a tail into early part of 28, but you can assume that majority will be deployed between 26 and 27. And I'm expecting continued growth into the rest of this decade also.
No, the Naga had plenty to say. It was really interesting because often you get these tech officials come out, the tech executives come over from the US and they don't really talk much. They don't say anything past what's in the press release. And he was actually very forthcoming. To another question I asked him was whether Ireland faced competition from other countries with Intel plants in winning the investment. And here's what he had to say about that.
I see Ireland as one of the very pivotal, critical part of Intel's network. We have great talent here, and the experience level of individuals here is excellent. I get some very good engineering capabilities and workforce in Ireland. I would call this as one of the top within the Intel factory networks. With that said, we brought Intel 3 in 24. So if I'm going to ramp more Intel 3 with the investments we have already made, it was the right decision to come here. There are challenges still that Ireland still has a slightly higher cost infrastructure. Part of it is electricity related costs are higher, and construction costs are also relatively high compared to other parts of the geo. But we are committed to Ireland because it provides us with a great workforce talent, and we have made 4 decades of investment, and we cannot walk away from it, and that's one. And also, the support from the local communities and the government here is fantastic. They are pro-business and they are encouraging and very supportive of Intel. So all those factors into that decision.
Now, the US government, as we know, took a 10% equity stake in Intel last year in a move that surprised many, many people. Now, with the Trump administration now the largest investor in the chipmaker, that kind of, you would imagine that presents issues because Trump has been very big on saying, if you're going to make investments, you make them here in the US, nowhere else. So I asked Naga about this, and here's what he had to say about, the Trump administration's involvement with Intel on a day-to-day basis.
So the investment by the US government, I see it as a show of confidence in the value Intel's bringing to the semiconductor industry and the capability that Intel has. But with that said, the governance of the company has been left completely to the company executives and the board, and the government hasn't really been involved in our day-to-day operations or our investments or the products and what we do with it. And all of it has been run by Libu and his staff and with guidance from the board. With respect to this investment, I think US government realizes that Intel is a global company, and we will have to continue to invest both in our US resources as well as other areas. And with Europe being a strong partner with the US, I think this is seen as a positive investment. And we will also have investments in US. We just had a huge investment with our 18A technology and the 18AP, where we are ramping it in Oregon and in Arizona. And we are continuing to invest in advanced packaging in New Mexico. And we are continuing to build our factory in Ohio. So the investments in US are continuing in parallel.
And it was within this context that Naga doubled down on Intel's commitment to Ireland.
Intel's very committed to Ireland. Ireland has been a really strong base for Intel for almost 35 plus years now, 4 decades. And we have 4,900 employees here, both Intel as well as contractors. And Intel 3, Ireland is our center of excellence for Intel 3. We are not running Intel 3 technology in any other Intel manufacturing facilities. And the demand for server, demand for AI is driving a significant increase in the need for Intel 3 wafers. And that's where this 5 billion euro of investment is coming in, where we want to invest into it and continue to deliver to the customers with additional output that's going to help us with the AI demand.
Now, and finally, on AI, Naga was asked if he was nervous of a potential AI bubble forming. He said, he said, there's definitely some sort of bubbling going on, if you like, but he expressed confidence that the investment in the technology will stay on its current upward trajectory no matter what.
I'm always worried. My view on this is the AI story is strong and it is there to stay. Is there a possibility that there's a blip? Is there a possibility that some correction? It is possible. But the fundamentals are strong, in my opinion, which means the demand for AI-based applications and the AI-based growth is going to be there over the longer term. And that's why we want to be careful with our investments, where we are not going back again and trying to build everywhere and expand everywhere. We are trying to make sure we are very disciplined, that our investments are preceded by clear customer commitments and demand. And for the Ireland investment, we are very confident that we have high confidence demand that's supported by the investments that we are making. And future is like looking into a crystal ball, so who knows?
Now, there you go. So that's Naga talking about the Intel investment. And, as we come to the end of the show, we're going to do our one last thing. What do you have for us this week, Alice?
It's a broad enough question, Charlie, but it's, are people getting sick of AI? Now, maybe...
Oh, I think that's a definite yes from everyone, including even tech journalists.
There was an article that kind of tickled me that I spotted over the weekend. Microsoft makes major AI U-turn following user revolt. So it was published by a tech publication, Tech Radar. Mm-hmm. And the story behind it is that basically Microsoft apparently backed down plans to introduce a host of AI tools across Teams, and it faced a major backlash from users, so it had to kind of introduce this toggle to actually turn it off. And it kind of got me thinking that a lot of products nowadays, our interfaces are just integrated with AI, not even as a choice. I mean, even an example, even the Surface Pro has Copilot really integrated into it, and you can turn off in some settings, but I think it speaks to a wider kind of dissatisfaction maybe, and almost like this bloated feeling, I think, from a lot of the market and from consumers of AI in general. I think people are a little bit tired of it in certain situations. I think everyone knows that there are a lot of pros and cons to it, and consumers and even like general people will use it like day to day. I think, though, when it comes to in your phones or tablets, or if you're using just Teams for work, and there's a host of these AI capabilities within that, some people might be kind of tired from that, is what I've kind of read. But I thought it was an interesting kind of take, and I wonder, will that continue as it progresses? Yeah,
and what I think is really interesting is that you may be able to turn off some of these things, but they don't make it very easy to do. I turned off a few of the settings in Google recently because I was like, okay, stop. I've had enough, and it's interesting because they turn off other things as well, because basically they want to shoehorn you into using these things, and they don't want you to say, no, thank you, I'm grand, And I think, Microsoft is very well known for, forcing people into using its tech, whether they like it or not. And, they would be a prime example of someone that you often do want to say, no, thank you. So it's interesting to see, how much will you lose out if you don't use if you don't agree to use these things? And also, as you say, how quickly before we all get fed up? You see something in Google, in Gmail, and you might get a one-liner email from a friend saying, yeah, that thing's booked for Thursday. And then you'll also get a Google, you'll get a Gemini summary, which is like, John said, hey, that's booked for Thursday. And you're like, this is really unhelpful. Yeah. Stop, So it all remains to be seen what happens next. But I very much think, yes, people are getting very fed up with AI. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. We will leave it there. If you're getting fed up with AI, be sure to let us know. Or if there's anything else you want to talk to us about for the programme, be sure to give us a shout at connected@businesspost.ie. We will be back next week. See you then.